moving here.
Hello, hello. My goodness, welcome back to the seminar, 40 Reasons Why We Could Be the Generation. You have your textbooks with you on the brink of the rapture. You have by this time, hopefully, you have shared your scriptures, showing your backup research on the reasons that we discussed in the last session. And doesn't it seem like these sessions, these days have gone by very quickly, haven't they? I guess because we're interested in the subject matter. Today we're going to discuss reasons number 26 through 36. Reason number 26, percentages of Bible prophecies fulfilled and the statistics surrounding the possibility of this fulfillment are staggering and inconceivable. Some of you have heard me give this example before if you've ever been in any of my seminars, but it's the best one I can find, so I'm going to give it here. Professor Emeritus of Science at Westmont College, Peter Stoner, gave this illustration. Imagine covering the entire state of Texas with silver dollars to a level of 2 feet deep. The total number of silver dollars needed to cover the whole state would be 10 to the 17th power. Now choose just one of these silver dollars, mark it, and drop it from an airplane. Thoroughly stir all the silver dollars all over the state. Now when this has been done, blindfold a man, tell him he can go anywhere he wants all over the state of Texas, and when he's ready, he can reach down, dig in, and find that one silver dollar. What do you think his chances are? Well, his chances of finding that one silver dollar in the state of Texas is the same chance that the prophets had of even 8 of their prophecies being fulfilled in one man. Just 8. Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, has not only fulfilled 8 of these prophecies, but all prophecies to the letter. The fulfillment of these 8 prophecies alone, Professor Stoner concluded, proves that God inspired the writing of those prophecies to a definiteness which lacks only one chance in 10 to the 17th power of being absolute. Hundreds of such prophecies in the Bible have come to pass. And as I said, with reference to the 48 prophecies about Jesus' first coming, all have been fulfilled. That's enough to make me want to pay close attention to the rest of the prophecies, because you can bet the farm the rest of them will come to pass exactly as prophesied. Revelation 22:12, and behold, I'm coming quickly, and my reward is with me to give to everyone according to his work. Dr. Perry Stone reports this. Over 70% of the entire gospel ever preached on earth since Jesus has been preached since the 1900s. 70% of that 70% has been preached since 1948, the rebirth of Israel. 70% of that 70% has been preached in the last 70 months. Reason number 26, percentages of Bible prophecy fulfilled and the statistics surrounding the possibility of this fulfillment are staggering and inconceivable. Reason number 27, the Bible codes have been discovered and are being unlocked. What are Bible codes? Well, in short, Bible codes are equidistant lettering that crisscross the Torah, or the first 5 books of the Tanakh, or the Old Testament as we call it. And it's known as equidistant letter sequences. Now, Dr. Paul Crouch of TBN puts it this way. He says the Bible is a giant crossword puzzle from beginning to end, and there are secret codes crisscrossing the entire text vertically, horizontally, and diagonally. It's kind of like a Bible within a Bible. Let me give you a simplification, because that really works for my blonde brain. You go to a restaurant, you're with your kids or your grandchildren, they give them a mat, and they give them some crayons. And there's a little game on there, and there are words, and they have to find the words, and they can be this way, or this way. Well, that's what Now you got the idea of what a grid looks like. Many scientists have believed there were secret codes hidden in the Bible. The most notable was Sir Isaac Newton, who spent over one half of his life trying to find the hidden codes in the Bible. These codes have now been discovered, and there's software available that even you and I can search out the codes. Again, I write quite a bit about that in your textbook on the brink of the rapture, and I give a lot of examples, and many of them will blow your mind. I know they did mine. Reason number 27, the Bible codes have been discovered and are being unlocked. Reason 28, this is another one of my favorites. The pure Hebrew language has been restored. Why is that important? Zephaniah 3:9. For then I will turn to the people a pure language, that they may call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent. Rabbi Emeritus Solomon says if you are going to cuss, you have to move to another language, because you cannot cuss in Hebrew, not in the pure Hebrew form. It is a pure language. This language was restored after being a dead language, and it was restored by a Jew, a Zionist, Eliezer ben Yehuda. As a matter of fact, Hebrew is the only dead language that has ever been revived to be spoken by a people, and it is now the language of Israel. The pure Hebrew language has been restored. Check. Number 29, the possibility of a 200 million man army exists today. Revelation 9:16, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. When John the Revelator saw that vision, there were not even 200 million people on earth when he was alive. So for him to have that vision, he saw every man, woman, and child and everything coming at one time. This was an enormous number for him to envision. And these armies are coming from the east, led by kings of the east. So what nation that is in the east could boast of an army of 200 million men? Well, in 1960, Chairman Mao of China made the boast. He said China could produce an army of 200 million men. China's in the east. That was said in 1960. China has cozied up with Iran, which we know is Persia, Russia, which we now know is Magog, and they need the spoils that Israel has. Again, in your textbook, you can read about this. I go into great detail about what the spoils in Israel are, and one of them will really, really surprise you. It's not one that you're thinking about. Reason number 29, the possibility of a 200 million man army exists today. Check. Reason number 30, the technology exists for the mark of the beast. In Revelation 13:16 through 17, John tells us that a world leader is coming. It's called the Antichrist. Don't be looking for somebody in blue tights and big, A on his chest like Superman. This guy's going to be sharp, good orator, seems like a man of peace, well-dressed, scholarly. Don't be looking for somebody, da-da, here I am, Antichrist. No, this man is going to be a really charismatic person. And it says here that this world leader is coming who causes all, the small and the great, the rich and the poor, and the free and the slaves, to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. And he provides that no one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. The technology now exists for this mark. It's called the very chip or the angel chip. It's the size of a grain of rice, and it can be implanted in human flesh in a matter of seconds. The very chip could contain all your personal information, and you would be being tracked by RFID or radio frequency identification. People are already being implanted with this chip. You find a lost pet, you take it to the vet to see if it has a chip. It has a chip, says who the owner are. It's a good thing. They're talking about, well, we already know that cows have this chip because they're trying to keep up with mad cow disease. They're talking about implanting this chip in the heel of a baby in the nursery. That way you can't take the wrong baby out of the nursery. They're talking about implanting it in children. If your child gets kidnapped, then it would be easy to locate them. They're talking about putting it in elderly people with Alzheimer's so they could be located. It's not the technology that's evil. It's the use of this technology. And here we are living in a world that's getting us used to the idea, because who would ever have thought 10, 15, 20 years ago that anybody was going to allow somebody to put a mark on their hand or on their forehead, ladies? Are you kidding me? But it's invisible. You won't be able to see it. And when these chips are embedded, it's very interesting. The sinews begin to wrap around it almost immediately, and it would be virtually impossible to remove it. The purpose, oh, and by the way, there is a company in Ohio that's already implanted these in their high security employees. The purpose of the mark is to show that someone worships this world leader. So the marks, the chips that are existing today implanted are not the mark of the beast. It'll only be the mark of the beast when you have to have one and you have to say that this person is God. Then it becomes the mark of the beast. So, you know, if one of you already experimented and got one, don't worry about it. It's not the mark of the beast yet. So we know that it's being used. But I'm going to tell you this, and I really emphasize this in the book. If you are left behind, do not take that mark. Do not take that mark, because the Bible is clear. If you take that mark, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. If you're left behind, you'll pay a price. You won't be able to buy or sell, hold a job. It's going to be rough going. But if you take the mark, you will not go to heaven because you've just said someone else is God. So please remember, do not take that mark if you're left behind, and I pray no one within the sound of my voice will be. Number 30, the technology exists for the mark of the beast. Number 31, cloning is no longer a dream. Now, why in the world would I be talking about cloning? Many Bible scholars believe that the recent interest and fervor for cloning could be the forerunner of the cloned human being, but that's against the law, right? You know, folks, if you don't think there are some research scientists out there who just are chomping at the bit to be the first one and they're playing around with this, then you don't understand the mind of a research scientist. Something being against the law would not be the factor there. It's the excitement of finding it. So why would that be important? I go into detail in the book on the brink of the rapture. I talk about cyborgs and chimeras. I talk about things that would curl the hair on the back of Dr. Jekyll's neck. Satan has a penchant for imitating Christ. Christ is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Satan is like a lion. And Christ will come back on a white horse, and symbolically, the Antichrist arrives with his own white horse. But what about the virgin birth and his death and resurrection? I think he'd like to imitate that one. Remember, we're told that this world leader will have a mortal wound, and yet he will be miraculously healed of his head wound. And cloning could very well fit the bill for this. This man could be killed, and there could be another one ready to come on stage. Voila, the death and resurrection is imitated. Reason number 31, cloning is no longer a dream. Reason number 32, a series of dams have been built in Turkey to dry up the Euphrates River. Revelation 6:12. Then the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up. so that the kings from the east, the 200 million man army, might be prepared. There exists today the Ataturk Dam on the Euphrates River in southeastern Turkey. It's the largest dam in a series of 22 dams and 19 hydroelectric stations built on the Euphrates and Tigris River in the 1980s and 90s. With the mere touch of a few buttons, the Euphrates can now be stopped. Remember Revelation 16:12? The purpose for drying up the river is to make the way for the kings of the east to come across the Euphrates and enter Israel. China now has a road built leading to the Euphrates. It's not used for passengers, commerce, or any other reason. Why does that road exist? I wonder. Reason number 32, a series of dams have been built in Turkey to dry up the Euphrates River. Reason number 33, a war in the Middle East has opened the window of the Middle East to the gospel. You know, we talked about how the gospel got into Indonesia through the waves roaring. This window that has been opened is called the 1040 window. It includes the areas of Africa from Asia from 10 degrees south of the equator to 40 degrees north of the equator. Iraq, formerly the same terrain as ancient Babylon, or as we know as Persia, Babylon rather, is at the center of the Middle East. Now, Reverend Sherman once said that if a devil was having a family reunion, he would hold it in Iraq. And in light of all that's happened to the Jews there, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Now, I am not going to discuss the politics of the Iraqi war, but I will say this to you. You just have to ask yourself, why did God allow that war to exist? And I think it's because of the word that we read in reason number 10, the gospel will be preached to the whole earth, and that includes Iraq, which has formerly had shut, slam, verboten doors. And if you can go on the internet and you can Google, you can see people where they have dug out places in the sand, put down a plastic tarp, filled it with water, and people are being baptized in the desert this way. So, reason number 33, the war in Iraq has opened a window to the Middle East for the gospel to be preached to the whole world. Reason number 34, the world's three major religions are expecting their Messiah or their prophet very soon. For the first time in history, I might add. The Christians are expecting the imminent return of Christ. The Jews are expecting their Messiah to come for the first time soon. The number one song in Israel a year or so ago was Mashiach Come. Now here's where it really gets interesting. The Shia Muslim, which are the second largest sect of Islam, which includes Iran, are expecting their Mahdi, their Messiah, in this, the 42nd generation since his disappearance. They also believe in the doctrine of Twelver. They believe that the son of the 12th martyred imam, or leader, hid in the deserts of Samarra and Kabbalah in Iraq. He's down in a well where he has been for 42 generations. And this, by the way, these pockets of Samarra and Kabbalah, every time you hear about resistance in Iraq, it's always in Samarra or Kabbalah, because they know this prophecy. They don't want anybody messing in that territory, because that's where the great Mahdi is right now. He's been in inclusion, they believe, and this 42nd generation, which is the generation that was prophesied he would return, and we are now in that 42nd generation, according to Shia belief, he is bringing Jesus back with him. And Jesus then will tell the world he is not the Son of God, and he will lead many to Allah. Ahmadinejad of Iran is one of the strongest believers in the doctrine of Twelver. And he has a road built just for the Mahdi to enter from Iraq into Iran. Thus, the push to destroy Israel and the Jewish people. He, Ahmadinejad, must prepare ye the way of his Lord. Reason number 34, the three major religions are expecting their Messiah or prophet soon. Reason number 35, the possibility of a peace agreement between Israel and the Arab nations is emerging. Peace, 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 peace. That is the catchword of the times in which we're living. Every modern U.S. administration has sought to broker peace in the Middle East between Israel and the Arabs, and still there's no peace. And now we learned earlier, this administration is pushing and shoving Israel to accept this roadmap to peace. And while they give lip service to their support of Israel, only 8% of Israelis trust this administration to do the right thing for them. 1 Thessalonians 5:3 speaks about a peace agreement that is, listen to these words, confirmed. Now, for something to be confirmed, it needs to already exist. Is there such a document? Is there such a peace agreement that exists that could be confirmed? Absolutely. The Oslo Accord, it's still on the table, ready for signatures. Has been. It's the one that Arafat turned down. And the terms of it would be 6-7 years. So the answer is yes, the Oslo Accord. Whether this is the peace agreement that is confirmed or not, nations are lining up and they're silently taking sides. And while people are publicly crying for peaceful negotiations, and again, most troubling of all is the fact that we're pushing and shoving Israel to sign a suicide pact. The idea of Eastern Jerusalem, where all the holy sites are, being given away is unfathomable to knowledgeable Christians, and it's an abomination to God. Please do not be fooled. This is not a political issue. It's a spiritual issue. There is a difference. Your support of Israel and the Jewish people is a spiritual issue. And it's one that we cannot deny is there. Number 35, the possibility of a peace agreement between Israel and the Arab nations is emerging. Check. All right, the last one for this session. Reason number 36. We just talked about it. The results of blessing and or cursing Israel have been proven through the ages and are being proved today. One of my favorite Bible verses, just in case you haven't figured it out by this point, is Genesis 12:3. I will bless those who bless you, Israel, and I will curse those who curse you. And it goes on to say, and through you shall the whole earth be blessed. And I believe that's both through the Messiah that came through and through all of the wonderful things that Jewish people have invented for us. I mean, my husband is alive today because a Jewish man built a device called a pacemaker defibrillator, which is implanted in his chest by a Jewish doctor, and he's being attended by other Jewish doctors to monitor all of this. So they have been a blessing to the whole world. That's just one example. Okay, well, so that's one of my favorite verses, and I'm sure it should become one of yours. This passage is crystal clear in Genesis 12:3 that Jehovah God, the God of Israel, will defend her. And we've got a mandate to bless Israel. And we're even promised a blessing if we'll do it. All right, let's look at a few events in history. I go through many more of them in your textbook on the brink of the rapture. Egypt was blessed with a plan of God through Joseph, and she survived the famine. About 1447 BC, Egypt treats Israel cruelly and refuses to set the Jews free. What was the result? Pharaoh and his army are beset with plagues, and eventually the army of Egypt is destroyed. In 364 AD, Emperor Constantine, who was a champion for the Christians, turns on the Jews and enacts some very strong anti-Semitic laws. Result, his empire was divided in two. 1492, Spain expels over 300,000 Jews. What happened with Spain? Spain lost her stature as a world power. In the 1600s, Martin Luther, listen, I was reared a Lutheran. I'm not coming down on Lutherans. In the 1600s, Martin Luther turns on the Jews and hurls a vitriolic sermon against them. Result, he died within the week. In the 1940s, Winston Churchill stands in full support of a homeland for the Jews. Result, he came out of near political oblivion and became the Prime Minister of Great Britain. In 1944, however, Winston Churchill begins to deny and cover up the extermination of the Jews in Europe. Result, this war hero, who was like a god, is defeated in 1945. 1948, Harry Truman. He leads in the recognition of the state of Israel on May the 14th. Result, this former haberdasher posts a most stunning victory over the shoo-in candidate Thomas Dewey. and he is elected President of the United States. In 1976, President Richard Milhous Nixon, at the passionate plea of Prime Minister Golda Meir, sends Israel the best of our American weaponry, helped them to win the Yom Kippur War, where they were sure to be annihilated forever. Result, Richard Nixon, who was marred with his sins in Watergate, was granted a full pardon by President Ford. From the 1940s to the present, the United States of America has become a safe haven for Jewish people who were exiled after the Holocaust, and we welcome them as a homeland. Result, America has been blessed more than any other nation on earth. Let me just give you something to think about. Let's say we are successful in causing Israel to divide this land. What do you think the result for America could be? There are many more examples of blessing and cursing Israel, which I give in the book. And you too, can you have your own personal blessing or cursing? Will you be on the side of Israel, or will you oppose God and stand against her? And remember, being neutral is the same as being against her. The results of blessing or cursing Israel have been proven throughout the ages and are being proved today. We're going to end this session here. Your assignment, as always, look up scriptures to verify the reasons we have discussed in class. Be prepared to bring them back with you. Discuss them with your classmates, and then your instructor will lead you through the rest of the session. It's been a blessing so far. We're now coming down on our last session, so we will see you next time. Be prepared with your assignment, and we'll see you then.